Doomsday has been used in the title of many Doctor Who stories over the years. There was the 1974 stage play Seven Keys to Doomsday, the 2006 finale, where Daleks fought Cybermen, and 10 bid farewell to Rose on the Beach was also called Doomsday, and so was the 2023 expanded media event, starring Suze Kempner, who I'll be going to see perform in Edinburgh again later this week. But Four To Doomsday is the one that I'm talking about today, although it's far from the best of the lot. The setting is quite unusual, as the TARDIS materialises aboard a spaceship that's 4 days away from Earth. It's supposedly a race to stop the Bankan invasion, but there's very little jeopardy involved. The Doctor and his gang of delinquents are basically just free to wander around the ship as they please for the entire story. They soon find the ship to be host to representatives of various Earth cultures who've been abducted over the centuries. It's an unusually multicultural cast for the early 1980s, although the white people still get most of the speaking parts. There's also demonstrations of Chinese dragon dancing and other cultural events, which liven things up a bit, but sadly they do tend to drag on. Sorry. Eventually they realise that all the humans and their alien overlords are really just androids out to take over the Earth and turn everybody into androids like themselves. There are a lot of big sci-fi ideas brought up along the way, such as the Bankan civilization gradually transforming themselves from flesh into android form, and Monarch's desire to travel back in time to the Big Bang in order to meet God, who he believes to be himself. But it's all very slow, and none of the characters seem in any danger until the final part. It all feels more like a 1960s Doctor Who story than something from the early 80s, which may be intentional, but it feels like a backward step all the same. This was the first story Peter Davison recorded as the Doctor, and it shows. He's clearly still finding his feet. He's very tentative and slow to act. You get the impression that the early Doctors would have taken Monarch down in half the time. This also means his companions are allowed to run riot. Tegan steals the TARDIS and attempts to fly it to Heathrow all by herself. Nissa nearly gets turned into a robot, and Adric actually goes over to the side of the evil aliens for about the third time. Thankfully, the Doctor manages to come to his senses. He calls Adric an idiot, gets the TARDIS back and takes care of Monarch, so he seems back to his usual self by the end. Stratford Johns as Monarch is the main guest star. The mask he's wearing still looks good, allowing him to use his eyes and mouth to express himself. It's not too different to how alien masks look in the current series. He gives a strong performance throughout, stuck in his throne room for most of the time, but always in charge of things. And he's likeable and charismatic enough that you can almost forgive Adric for falling for his lies. The other big name is Bert Kwok, from the Pink Panther movies and Harry Hill's TV show. He's a bit wasted here, and it would have been much better if they'd made him the lead ancient human instead of Philip Locker's Bygone. The effects are a definite step up from recent years. The opening shot panning over Monarch's spaceship is clearly a reference to Star Wars, and obviously not as good, but it's still decent enough for the time. There's also some ambitious shots of Bygone removing his skin to reveal his robot body, which almost work, but not quite. And in the final episode, the Doctor does a spacewalk to get to the TARDIS. I'm not sure throwing a cricket ball would make any difference in zero gravity, but for all I know, it could be perfectly possible. Maybe they'll try it in one of those Mythbusters shows in the future. The DVD is a bit sparse. I think you have to buy the Blu-ray of Season 19 if you want the proper extras. There's 27 minutes of footage of raw studio recordings, so you get to see the crew bustling around between takes, and the director trying to encourage Matthew Waterhouse to act, or at least react like a normal human would. And you get to see how they did the floating orb effects in camera, which is actually quite impressive. There's also a 14-minute clip from Saturday Night at the Mill, some sort of late-night talk show, where Peter Davison talks about working on all creatures great and small, and also being a Doctor Who fan. So obviously they filmed this before he started filming. And for some reason he makes a very thick chocolate milkshake, which is impossible to drink through a straw. Overall, it's got some good ideas, but it's very slow. I'll give it 4 out of 10. Next week it's Kinder, which I think is one of the good ones. And I might do a vlog about my day in Edinburgh. It was really noisy and crowded last time, so I'm not sure how much footage I'll get. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, like or subscribe if you want to see that, and I'll see you next time.